For the Honourable Pete Hodson.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Internal Affairs and reads, can he confirm that he, as reported in the Dominion Post of 30 March 2009, spoke at a formal ceremony as Minister of Internal Affairs about the benefits of aviation training in New Zealand?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Richard Worth.
No, I cannot confirm that. I did not speak as a Minister of any portfolio at any event or ceremony during my visit to India.
The Honourable
I spoke at the ceremony for approximately 5 minutes as the chairman of the India Trade Group on the benefits of strengthening trade links, including agribusiness, between India and New Zealand. I need to say, with reference to a comment made by the Honourable Phil Goff, that the India Trade Group is an incorporated society. It's like a business council. It's a not-for-profit organisation.
The Honourable Pete Hodson.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister, did he meet all of his own costs for travel, accommodation and other requirements on the trip to India, where he promoted New Zealand aviation?
The Honourable Dr.
His own costs. Did he meet
the
all
Honourable
his own
Dr. Richard Worth.
The cost of the trip were borne by me. I did receive hospitality at a number of events. I can record what those events were. There were 3 social functions in Delhi, and I think there were 2 social functions in Chandigarh.
The Honourable Pete Hodson.
To the Minister, did he receive airport facilitation from ministerial services, either when leaving New Zealand or on his return to Auckland? And if he did his fellow shareholders in New Zealand Aviation at the time, as private individuals, also receive facilitation from ministerial services?
The Honourable Dr. Richard Worth.
Yes, I did receive facilitation at airports. I'm not certain that it was every airport, and some members of the ITG also received similar facilitation as members of that travelling team that I was chairing.
The Honourable Pete Hodson. Order. His colleague, remember his colleague's trying to ask a question.
Mr Speaker, were his fellow shareholders in New Zealand Aviation those who received, as private individuals, ministerial facilitation at Auckland Airport? Were those same shareholders amongst those who contributed $1,000 per person towards his personal expenses? If so, just how much did the trip to India cost him, or might he have run it at a small but tidy profit?
The Honourable Dr. Richard Worth.
I'm completely unaware of what the member has just said in terms of support. It is right to say that the final costs of the trip have not been allocated. I am simply unaware of the truth of that statement. I do not believe it to be correct.
The Honourable Pete Hodson.
To the Minister, does he still receive any form of income from Simpson Grierson? If not, when did he last receive any income from Simpson Grierson?
Order. I'm not sure that that question relates to the primary question about, a trip to speaking as Minister of Internal Affairs overseas, or at least on the 30th of March. I don't see how the Minister having any income from Simpson Grierson's within standing orders. The member I'll give the member the opportunity to reword a question that does fall within standing orders.
The Speaker, to the Minister, why did he inform the Southern Institute of Technology Chief Executive, Penny Simmons, of his intention to withdraw from his directorships of New Zealand Aviation last September, but didn't do so until yesterday after the public heat had been turned up?
The Honourable Dr. Richard Worth.
I don't have a clear Mr. Speaker, have a clear recollection of that issue. But I can, for the benefit of the member, explain the background to that issue. And the brief background is that when these discussions took place with Penny Simmons of the Southern Institute of Technology, there was a proposal that there would be a shareholding of the Southern Institute of Technology in New Zealand Aviation Limited. That never came about, and in fact the plan moved from there to a proposal that there would be a new joint venture company set up of New Zealand Aviation Limited and the Southern Institute of Technology. I understand that that joint venture company has not been set up. It was never part of the plan that I would be a shareholder or director of that new company. And I need also to say, Mr. Speaker, that New Zealand Aviation Limited has never traded. It is a holding company, and its existence and my link with it was disclosed in the 2009 Register of Pecuniary Interests.
The Honourable Pete Hodson.
To the Minister. To the Minister, did he meet with New Zealand immigration officials in Delhi whilst he was in India? If so, did he meet them as a Minister of the Crown, or did he meet them as not a Minister of the Crown? And what was the nature of any representations he made?
The Honourable Dr. Richard Worth.
Mr. Speaker, my recollection of that is that when the ITG delegation arrived in Delhi, there was a briefing at the Indian High Commission, and there was the New Zealand High Commission in Delhi. The New Zealand High Commission in Delhi. My recollection is that there was an immigration official there. I have no recollection of exactly what was said, but I believe there was a briefing by her on immigration issues. I made no to the ITG delegation. I believe I made no representations
Order.
at all.
Question by interjection. The Honourable Pete Hodson.
Mr. Speaker. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order. The Honourable Pete Hodson.
I seek the leave to table a number of newspaper clippings, all of which are from India. So the first is from the Tribune, which is the largest selling daily in North India, quoting New Zealand's Senior Minister for Internal Affairs, Richard Worth.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is none.
Mr. Speaker, I seek leave to table a document from the Indian Express, quoting Mr. Worth as saying that the cost of getting an airline pilot's licence in New Zealand is around 70,000 New Zealand dollars, and that that's a good deal.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection?
Mr. Speaker, I seek leave to table a document from an Indian newspaper known as UNP, which describes the New Zealand delegation as being led by their Internal Affairs Minister, Dr. Richard Worth, OBE.
Is there any objection to that document being tabled?
Mr. Speaker,
there is none.
I seek leave to table an article from the Times of India, which quotes also New Zealand Internal Affairs Minister Richard Worth as leading the delegation, and quotes Mr. Worth as saying that New Zealand is an ideal place for aviation training as it trains pilots to tackle the sudden change of weather. Is there any objection
to that document being tabled? There is none. We come now